Hey everybody, so this is our first official meeting where we're going to be going over alcohol consumption and harm reduction. It'll be pretty quick. We've got a small meeting, and yeah, for any questions, you guys can feel free to ask them if you're in the Zoom, or if you're not in the Zoom and you want to know, you can shoot us an email, check out our YouTube channel, and do all that stuff. We also have an Instagram account that you can reach out to us via that as well. Yeah, just jumping straight in, I'm going to be talking about what exactly alcohol is. So ethyl alcohol, or ethanol, is essentially the alcoholic drink that we consume. There are other types of alcohol, but they aren't safe for consumption. And pretty unanimously, scientists, medical professionals, and even people who recreationally drink agree you shouldn't drink other forms of alcohol. So don't do that. But ethyl alcohol is a flammable, clear liquid that is produced by the fermentation of sugars, oftentimes found in grains or fruits. So there are different types of alcohols. I'm sure most people watching this are aware, with everything from beers and malt liquors that are, generally less alcohol heavy to much heavier alcohols or much like stronger alcohols, such as hard liquor like vodka and tequila. So alcohol or ethanol is a central nervous system or CNS depressant. So what a CNS depressant is it's basically a chemical or a substance that suppresses or depresses various parts of your central nervous system and of your bodily functions. This includes your breathing, your heart rate, your body's ability to regulate temperature, as well as just kind of your brain activity and brain function. And finally, alcohol is a commercially available and legalized drug in most countries. The drinking age varies depending on where you are. In the United States, it's 21. And so because of its widespread availability and widespread use, it's actually responsible for over 3 million deaths worldwide each year, according to the World Health Organization. And this accounts for more than 5% of global annual deaths. So alcohol is an incredibly available and an incredibly potent substance. And that's why we kind of want to just bring light to this and sort of talk about, how exactly to be safe when drinking. So moving on to the symptoms of alcohol consumption, there are a lot of short-term side effects, many of which people find pleasurable, which is why they drink. So alcohol as a CNS depressant has numerous short-term effects that generally suppress various aspects of your body or your brain. So for example, a lot of people who drink have lowered inhibitions. If you have kind of inhibitions that you've set up for yourself, saying, I don't want to do this, I want to avoid this. A lot of those kind of lines and boundaries that you set for yourself oftentimes become blurred. And a lot of people enjoy this feeling, but it's something that, can lead to a lot of unsafe situations, which is something we'll get to more when we talk about harm reduction. But in addition, it can lead to decreased concentration and judgment. As it suppresses various parts of your nervous system functioning, you have less of an ability, I can talk, to make informed decisions and to really be able to focus and have kind of just a presence of mind. It can lead to slurred speech as you're less able to communicate the various ideas that you want to. You're less able to really translate what's going on in your brain, which is, again, already being altered by alcohol, to your mouth or to your tongue, which is then trying to do the fine motor task of speaking. It can reduce your body temperature. Once again, as a depressant, it's suppressing your body's ability to maintain a lot of its normal status and a lot of its normal well-being. So your body temperature and blood pressure can both just fluctuate or generally not be in the range that you necessarily want it to be in. And finally, it can lead to decreased reaction time. And this is incredibly important, especially that's why, there's so many things about not driving while drinking or not really doing any activity that requires a lot of reaction time, a lot of focus or precision, because you don't have the ability to make the same conscious decisions and conscious kind of actions that you do when you're sober. As you can see, there's a little diagram there. And for everyone who's watching the YouTube video, there's going to be a link to this slideshow in the description. And for everyone who's in the Zoom, if you want to see any of these links, we can post them in the chat afterwards. But yeah. So then there's the symptoms of alcohol poisoning, right? So when you're drinking alcohol, it is essentially a poison. It's a substance that isn't good for your body. And in moderation, it's okay. In moderation, you can drink and be perfectly fine as long as you don't do certain activities. But it's incredibly important to know what exactly the signs of alcohol poisoning are. Because it's one thing to be having a good time and to have your mood a little bit elevated and to have your blood pressure a little bit higher, but it's another to be experiencing alcohol poisoning, which is essentially what leads to alcohol overdoses. So if your blood alcohol content or BAC gets too high, you can start to experience the symptoms of alcohol poisoning. And for those of you who don't know, blood alcohol content or BAC is the weight of ethanol in grams measured per 100 milliliters of blood. Or if you're doing a breathing test or you're measuring it via your breath, it's the weight of alcohol in grams per 210 liters of breath. So posting in the chat, there's a little like blood alcohol content calculator. And so that's something that you can use just kind of to, get a gauge for where exactly you are, right? Because going off of feelings is a good idea, but it's also smart to kind of have a concept of where exactly am I? How healthy am I being? How close to this line that I'm drawing for myself am I getting? Do I not want to drink more, etc. But the symptoms of alcohol poisoning are incredibly dangerous with each other. And we'll get into that more in the harm reduction, how exactly you can reduce getting hurt or harming yourself or others. But many of the symptoms of alcohol poisoning include vomiting, difficulty or slow breathing, a decreased heart rate, unconsciousness, and seizures. So obviously all of these sound really scary, and it's something that you want to avoid, right? Alcohol poisoning is incredibly dangerous and, like I said, leads to many deaths worldwide as well as nationally. So basically, when we get to harm reduction, we'll be talking about the various ways in which you can kind of avoid this and kind of just being conscientious of what happens when you're experiencing alcohol poisoning, or kind of the lead up to that is one way for you to avoid it. But in addition to alcohol poisoning, alcohol has long-term risks, right? Even if you never experience alcohol poisoning or you never experience an alcohol overdose, you can still have negative impacts that alcohol causes on your body and on your brain. So some of the long-term impacts include memory loss, reduced attention span, and a reduction of gray and white matter in the brain. So this is all related to the psychological and neurological impacts that alcohol has on your central nervous system. So gray and white matter are responsible for regulating various parts of your bodily and mental functions, including your memory, attention span, ability to focus and concentrate, etc. And so by reducing the content of gray and white matter in your brain, you're actually harming your psychological and like physiological ability to do a lot of the cognitive functions and cognitive tasks that you do. In addition to that, as a lot of people are aware, when you drink alcohol, it is metabolized by the liver. So it's essentially what breaks down the ethanol that you've consumed and makes it into something that is no longer toxic for your body. But this obviously puts a lot of strain on your liver. So if you drink regularly or if you drink a lot, you can develop conditions such as alcoholic hepatitis, which is basically where your liver becomes inflamed from an overconsumption of alcohol. There is liver fibrosis, which is essentially scarring of the liver. It's been damaged very heavily because you've been drinking a lot or you've been drinking for a very long time, which reduces your liver's ability to continue functioning at its normal capacity. And just so you know, the liver doesn't just filter out alcohol. The liver is essentially our body's way of filtering out any toxins we consume, right? So this also reduces our ability to handle, unhealthy foods or any other toxic or harmful materials that we may be ingesting. It can also cause steatosis, which is essentially when your liver has a buildup of fatty tissue and fatty material on it, which similarly hinders its ability to continue functioning. Additionally, it can cause high blood pressure, stroke, cardiomyopathy. I'm good at talking. But cardiomyopathy is essentially where the chambers in your heart become enlarged and it decreases your heart's ability to be able to pump blood effectively. So you're no longer able to, have blood going to all of your organs, to your muscles, to the various parts of your body. And this can lead to a host of negative impacts. And it can additionally cause an irregular heartbeat. So all of these things obviously are related to the circulatory and respiratory systems. So what we can see is that at the end of the day, alcohol has a myriad of impacts on multiple systems in your body, right? A lot of people typically only associate it with the liver, not the lungs, and with their brain. But in actuality, it can have a variety of negative impacts because at the end of the day, it is a toxic substance, which is why, when you're drinking, it's incredibly important to practice moderation. It's incredibly important to, just be aware of how much you're drinking over a period of time, not just on an individual day. Similarly, alcohol is carcinogenic. It can cause various forms of cancer, including but not limited to throat, mouth, breast, and liver cancer. So at the end of the day, alcohol, once again, is a toxin, and it can lead to a lot of very negative impacts. So this is why, it's a good idea to be aware of what you're consuming, how much you're consuming it, and how often. And finally, alcohol can lead to addiction, which we'll get to a little bit later in this presentation, looking at addiction and the resources that are available. Eric?
Looking at both short and long-term risks and symptoms, what are some factors that affect how you are affected by alcohol consumption?
So there are a variety of factors that kind of change or impact how you're affected by your alcohol consumption. The first of which is your genetics. So some people are predisposed to, being more prone to becoming addicted to or dependent on alcohol. So if alcoholism runs in your family or if addiction in general runs in your family, there's a higher risk of you developing addiction. Similarly, some people are less able to break down the various enzymes found inside ethanol. So for example, a lot of people of East Asian descent don't have a certain enzyme. I'm not a scientist. I'm not like entirely aware of all of the scientific names for it, but there's a certain liver byproduct that breaks down alcohol and ethanol, which basically allows us to get rid of the toxin a lot faster. A lot of people of East Asian descent don't have this, which is why a lot of people who are, from China, Japan, Korea, and other East Asian countries will become very flushed when they drink alcohol because the buildup of the toxin that's found in ethanol is essentially a lot faster, right? It's not being broken down as quickly, which means that they're going to express symptoms of, just their body being hurt or their body basically being like unhappy with them for drinking alcohol because it's not able to break it down as effectively. Additionally, there are environmental concerns. People who have had very difficult childhoods or who have experienced trauma are more likely to develop addiction and are more likely to turn to substance use and substance abuse. So it really comes down to a lot of different things. And I would encourage people to do their own research. We have kind of more in-depth sources at the end of this presentation, but it's really just about being aware of the risk factors that are present in your life and knowing yourself and knowing the people around you and the systems that are there for you. So now getting to harm reduction, how exactly we can avoid being harmed when we drink alcohol. Because at the end of the day, millions of Americans and billions of people worldwide imbibe and drink alcohol every year. So it's important to be aware of, how you exactly can stay safe. So avoid driving, operating machinery, swimming, or other activities that could put you or others at risk. So at least in the United States, and I think in most countries, if you look at alcohol labels, it'll say like, Surgeon General warning, you shouldn't do XYZ. And driving and heavy machinery are the ones that we typically associate with this. And everyone's aware that drunk driving is a really big problem. But we oftentimes don't associate this with other activities, right? So a lot of people may drink and then decide to go swimming, but this can be incredibly dangerous because it's suppressing your ability to have coordination, have balance, because it's decreasing the rate at which you're breathing or decreasing your heart's ability to pump blood around your body. All of these things can basically put you at risk for being in an unsafe situation, right? Whether that's drowning, whether that's slipping, like hitting something or falling in. And it's not just the swimming, right? Like doing physical activity in general isn't generally a good idea when you've been drinking because you just don't have the same ability to, maintain your coordination and balance senses that you do when you're sober. Another good thing, and this is not just true of alcohol, but in general, is to keep track of how much you've been taking or how much you've been drinking and be conscious of your blood alcohol content because it does take some time for alcohol to really start to have its impact on you. So if you're just like pounding down drink after drink, you may not be realizing just exactly how much you have been drinking until it's too late, until you're experiencing very negative symptoms. So just kind of keeping track of that and, knowing where you are, remaining in safe situations. So not just knowing where you are in terms of how much you've been drinking, but, being in a physically safe situation, right? Are you in a public area where there are a lot of people? Is it well lit? Or on the flip side, are you in the comfort and safety and privacy of your own home or at a friend's house or something? So it's generally not a good idea to be isolated or alone when drinking for a variety of reasons. You're not exactly able to necessarily take care of yourself entirely, and you don't have all of your mental and physical capabilities and functions available for you. But in addition to that, you want to be in a place where what dangers are present so that you aren't like caught off guard and so that a host of negative things don't happen to you or to the people around you. Next, having someone sober with you is incredibly important. Once again, this isn't just true of alcohol, but in general, if you're going to be imbibing substances, it's always a good idea to have someone sober who is there or on hand. And even if you're not able to do that, it's always a good idea to make sure that one or more sober people know where you are. And just in case something bad happens, they're able to call emergency services, call for medical assistance, and be able to essentially make sure that you stay safe. Next, something that a lot of people are somewhat aware of, but may not know all of the details about, avoid laying people on their back or stomach if they've had a lot to drink or expressing symptoms of alcohol poisoning. And the reason why is laying someone on their back if they vomit because they've been drinking too much and their body is trying to essentially get rid of that alcohol. They could throw up and then choke on that vomit because they'll be trying to breathe, they won't be able to get it out. And this could be fatal, or it could cause a host of just negative things, even if it doesn't end up killing that person. In addition, laying people on their stomach isn't generally a good idea because it's a lot harder for them to breathe, especially for heavier individuals. It's difficult for their lungs to be able to expand fully and get enough air in if they're being laid on their stomach. So you always want to put someone on their side or sitting up if they are experiencing symptoms of alcohol poisoning or if they've had a lot to drink. Avoiding mixing alcohol with other drugs, it's always a good idea to avoid mixing or crossing substances unless you're, really aware of what you're doing and you're highly confident in like what you have, like in just knowing what you have, right? So mixing alcohol with other drugs can have a variety of negative impacts. For example, a lot of people mix alcohol and marijuana. There are harms to this, such as, your body tries to throw up to get rid of excess alcohol if you're experiencing alcohol poisoning, but marijuana can actually inhibit your body's ability to vomit, meaning that you could essentially be allowing this poison to sit in your body at unsafe levels for far too long. Another drug category, I guess, that you really want to avoid mixing with alcohol is other central nervous system depressants, such as opiates or cough syrup. And this is largely because, as alcohol is already suppressing your breathing, your heart rate, your body's ability to regulate temperature, this is exactly what other central nervous system depressants, including opiates or cough syrup like DXM, will do to your body. So you're essentially compounding all of these negative impacts, and you're just increasing the likelihood that you're going to be harmed, that you're going to, have your heart or your lungs just decide to shut down or have really a lot of these negative symptoms. So it's a good idea not to mix drugs in general, but especially to avoid mixing drugs in the same category. So not drinking and taking Xanax or opiates like Percocet or OxyContin or, other drugs that will have very similar impacts. And finally, and I mentioned this earlier when I asked a question, just being aware of genetic, environmental, or medical or health-related reasons why you should avoid drinking. So for example, if you're taking a blood-thinning medication, you may not want to drink because the essentially interaction of alcohol and that blood-thinning medication could be incredibly negative because, your blood pressure is being raised and it's having an impact on your heart's ability to continue pumping blood effectively. Additionally, if you get hurt, this could just lead to a variety of negative impacts. So you want to basically just be aware of yourself, be aware of your surroundings, the people around you, and just kind of take everything slow. Like that's kind of a good idea with drugs in general, is just taking things slow and steady and being aware of what you're doing, and kind of having the presence of mind to say like, hey, I may not be entirely conscious. I may not be entirely aware of what's going on. I want to have somebody here with me, or I want to be in a situation where I know that I'm safe and where I know the limitations are set. So these are all kind of good practices to reduce harm when drinking or just taking other drugs in general. And so now Salem is going to take it away with talking about addiction and dependence, as well as the resources that are available.
So as we know, alcohol can be highly addictive when drank regularly and especially heavily. Many people like the qualities of alcohol, especially the depressive and numbing qualities of it. That's usually what hooks people and can lead to dependence, which is often subconscious. And a tolerance is built up as one's body progressively gets used to the substance. So if one night you drink one drink and then the next night you drink again, it's possible that you may need a little bit more to get as drunk as the night you were before. It's just a progressive cycle, and drinking continuously will just increase your tolerance. It also has to do with your body weight, which has to do with blood alcohol content, which Connor already went into. Some signs of addiction to alcohol is feeling as if it's essential, similar to food or water, like you need it to go through the day. If you feel discontent with your sobriety from alcohol, you're likely to have a dependence, or if you're experiencing withdrawals such as irritability, restlessness, shakiness, nausea, anxiety, disorientation, or headaches, any sort of like upset stomach, anything like that usually does mean that you're experiencing withdrawal symptoms. Also, if you're feeling any lack of control or accountability due to alcohol and is affecting your life in a way that it hasn't before, it's also very possible that you are addicted. While these symptoms are intimidating, the possibility of addiction is not objective. It is very possible to practice moderation. And while drinking, it's always important to be safe, practice self-awareness, and set boundaries for yourself before drinking. As Connor mentioned before, maybe keeping somebody you trust near you to keep you in check. And keeping your health a priority is always important with any sort of substance consumption. It's important to listen to your body and take breaks when you feel you might need to, and drink as much as you feel comfortable drinking, not how many other people may feel comfortable drinking or what somebody wants you to drink. It's always important to keep your own personal boundaries while drinking, even though your inhibitions may be lowered due to drunkenness. Some resources and support. Most people know of Alcoholics Anonymous, the religious-based group to support the program promoting full sobriety. There are also plenty of other resources that can help with sobriety support, such as the Alcohol Addiction Helpline. Alcohol.org has plenty of resources, and that's with the American Addiction Centers. There's the Rehab Admission Hotline, where you can call them and try to get admitted to a rehab center. There's a Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration helpline, which is 1-800-662-4357. And there's the Secular Organizations for Sobriety, which is a support group that is a secularized version of AA, and it also helps support those overcoming drug abuse and compulsive eating disorders. It's important to keep these resources in mind, especially if you feel like you may have a problem. Of course, it's always important to reach out to those close to you if you feel you may have a drinking problem or any other type of substance abuse problem. And there are plenty of steps that you can take while doing the due research to support stopping drinking.
Thank you so much. So yeah, we've covered what exactly alcohol is, what it does, both in the short term and long term, the signs of alcohol poisoning, how you can stay safe and reduce harm, signs of addiction and dependence, and the various resources and support systems that are available. So, we have a list of other materials here, and all of them are hyperlinked. For those of you who are watching it on YouTube, this entire presentation is going to be put into the description. And for those of you who are here in Zoom, if you want a copy of the presentation, or if you want any of the links, then I'd be happy to send those to you. But yeah, if there are any questions, feel free to ask those. And if not, thank you all for showing up and taking the time to be here and to just, watch this and be present. Awesome. Okay, so it doesn't look like there are any more questions. So thank you everybody for showing up. And that's going to be the end of the meeting. See you all.